This is an introduction video to the Mathesynth CV8 module right here. When you get the module from the website, you can also download the CV8 folder right here. Within that folder, you've got CircuitPy folder. This is the firmware that the module runs off of. So you shouldn't have to do anything with that. That's just there as a backup just in case you need it. This is what's already loaded on the module. Down here below, you've got externals that I've created for interacting with the module and allowing it to control your hardware synths. This CV8 file right here, this is the one that you're going to be working with the most, and this is what I'm going to use for our introduction today. I'm going to open it up with plug data. If you've never used plug data or pure data, you can go online and just do a search for plug data. It automatically took me to it, but it goes to plugdata.org right here, and you can go to their downloads page and download for your operating system. Let's go back on over here. So here's my folder. I'm going to open this up with plug data. To use these, you're going to have to install some external libraries. You're going to need to install Comport. So to install these, you go up here to your menu, find externals, and explore, and then just search for Comport. And then you click install right here. And then after installing it, then you'll, so I already have it, so I'm not going to do this again, but you click install. And what that'll do is it will put it in your documents, plug data, externals, and then Comport right there. The other one you're going to need to install is AbleLink tilde right there. So then you would, same thing, same process, find externals, explore, ABL, shows up right at the top. You click install, that'll put that into this folder on your computer. Now, once you've installed them, then you also need to go to your settings and go to paths, and you add search path. So this search path right there, see how I've already got the Comport and the AbleLink one right there. If you click add search path, and then you make your way to documents, and then plug data, externals, AbleLink. Then you click open. That'll cause this to close like that, and it'll show up here. Then you click add search path, and then you go to Comport and open. So documents, plug data, externals, Comport, open, and then it'll show up right here. With both of those external libraries installed, then you'll be able to run all the CV8 stuff that I'm about to show you. So all the way into full screen here, and I'll make it so that we can still see the rack as well. So right now I've got, if you take a look down here, I've got a sine wave coming into my tuner going out into my VCA, and then that's coming out right here. So we can adjust pitch, of course. I'm going to go an octave higher on that. There we go. So now we've got it higher on the C, but you can put that at whatever range you want, of course. So first things first here, this one right here. So these are all objects. You'll hear me talk about objects. Each of these does a different function in how you're going to interact with the CV8 module. USB out is this one right here. And that's exactly what it is. That's our port out to the module from PD. First thing you're going to want to do is click List Devices. And when you do that, over here in the console, you can see 0, 1, 2, 3. So there's 4 devices that are available right now. The one that we're going to use, I'm on a Mac computer, so that usually shows up as USB modem. On a Windows computer, it'll show up as like COM port 1, 2, 3, I think, on it. I was just testing it out on a Windows machine earlier today. The best way to figure out which one is your device is I'm just going to unplug the USB from the module and click List Devices, and let's see which one's missing. You can see there's only 0, 1, 2 now, and the one that's missing is this USB modem one. So now we know for sure that is that's the name of this device on this computer. So I'm going to click List again, and we'll see it show back up again. There it is as 2. Click on this number at Open Device, change that to 2. Now we're connected. So with that done, let's connect a slider to it. That'll be a good beginning here. So these are inputs across the top of objects, and these are outputs across the bottom. So I'm going to take this output, feed that into the input of 1, and then patching it over here, I'm going to patch my 1 output and feed that up to pitch. So this is my frequency on that oscillator. So we can hear it again right there. Now, if I pull the slider, you can both hear that it's sliding all the way up to the top of that octave and then coming all the way back down. So if we take that and put it into our VCA, it can control our volume as well. So just so you get an idea of what's going on here, you'll see every now and then I'm going in and out of edit mode. See how there's a grid right now? And when I do this, not a grid. So you can either click back and forth up here between them, or you can use Command E, and that's a quick way to get back and forth in and out of edit mode. So know that whenever you see that grid go away and I start interacting with these objects, it's because I've hit Command E, and that's gone back and forth between the 2 different modes. The number values down here, I'm going to put a float box down here and connect this to it. When I pull this up and down, see how the maximum is 4095 and the minimum is 0, of course. And so that's our full integer range of what we're working in here in PD. And that's because this is a 12-bit DAC, the digital to audio converter that's in the module is 12-bit, which gives you 4095 integers in the, that's your scale right there. So just like MIDI 0 to 127, this is 0 to 4095. Let's look at the keyboard here now. Just like you can control pitch and volume with a slider, know that the knobs work the same way too, by the way. So they just look different. They're different ways to control it, but they're essentially the same thing. The notes right here, the keyboard, we can take our pitch out right here and feed that into that first input. In fact, I'm going to move this back over to pitch here. And then, so now I'm going to be able to control the pitch using this keyboard object. So let's pull the volume back up and then like that. And you can take a look at the tuner over here right now. I haven't had to adjust anything from one computer to the next. I've used this on a number of different ones, and what I've got set in there already works for all of them. Now, if you ever do want to adjust the width of the octave, all of these objects, you can open them and modify them. So I'm going to open this one up right now so you can see it. Here's what we see in the object box. But down here, this expression, this is our tuning per octave. So that 816 right there, say if you check and your octaves are too narrow, so they get flat the higher you go, then you'll want to raise that 816 up. So if you bump that up to even 817 or 818, that's going to make a difference in the intonation. You can use decimal points as well in it. So you can bring that number up or down to tune your octave range. You know, on the other side of it too, if your octaves are too wide and they get sharp as you go higher and higher, then you would just put a slightly smaller number in there, and that's going to bring that octave a little closer together. So anything that uses pitch in here has that same equation in there. So like in our sequencer here, you know, ignore all this other stuff that's going on and just look down here at the bottom. There's that 816 divided by 12 again. So that's that same octave width right there. Now I clicked on this before and we got sustained notes, right? But they don't have an envelope to them. So what we're going to do is, I'm going back into edit mode here, connect gate to that second CV now. So now we can go over on our and patch on our module here and patch out CV2. Patch that in to the envelope, and then patch the output of the envelope to the VCA. So that gate now is going to trigger the envelope to play. I can turn up the volume, don't hear anything when I click. So now our envelope is being triggered by that gate that's coming out of this object right here. Now, pointing and clicking is, you know, that's fun, but it's not exactly super useful or practical. So we might want to use a keyboard, of course, to control that. So back into edit mode, I'm going to put note in. This is a common PD object to use. It's just in it's built into it. And if you hover over these outlets, it'll tell you what comes out in plug data. So there's your MIDI note number, and that's going into the note input. And then here's your velocity, and that's going to go into your velocity input right there. Now go into my settings. I did command comma. I should probably show you up here. You can go to there and go to settings and then MIDI. And my inputs right now, you've got key station port 1. So it's turned on right now. So that's my keyboard right here next to me. I'm going to turn that, close out of this now. And now when I play, so now my keyboard is controlling that object. So it's taking MIDI information in, converting it into a gate, which is 0 to 4095. So if I play a note, you'll see that. Like that. So there's our gate. And then we've got a pitch over here. These number boxes are just floats. You can add objects up here. So this is a float that I'm doing. But that, if you hover over it, see how it says command +3. So that's what I'm using, is that shortcut. So there's our pitches. There's our lowest one, that's 0, and then highest. It doesn't go all the way up to the 4095 on this object right here. But we do have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 octaves. Don't have the high C on there, but yeah, and that can actually, if you wanted to extend that, it is possible to do that as well, honestly. If you go in here and just open that, click on the keyboard, see how many octaves, it says 4 octaves, you can make that any number you want, and then you can make an even bigger keyboard out of that if you like. So it's everything in here is configurable after the fact if you want to make changes to it. And if you mess anything up, you can always go back to the original folder and just start over with that. So, okay, so there's our keyboard and pitch control through that. Let's take a look at CC messages and other MIDI input, because we were just talking about that with the keyboard. First, let's look at the CV assign one. I'm going to feed that in here. I'm going to, for now, take the envelope out of the circuit there. And so this is going to control our pitch now. What this does is, because remember, I already made sure that my keyboard, my controller was enabled in PD, so I can check this box. Now I'm going to move a knob and see how that the check goes away, and now it says 10. So that knob that I just wiggled is CC number 10 on that keyboard. So now when I move that, it's going to then send a message out to port 1, which is then going to go out here to our pitch. Let me move that. You can see the tuner working already. If I pull the pitch up, there's that. So now I'm turning the knob on the keyboard, controlling the pitch. This could be assigned to, that's at that point your knob is just a control voltage. So that can go to anything that you've got that has a CV input on it, but you can be controlling it from a MIDI keyboard or controller. Now this other one over here, the MIDI to CV, it does have a useful function, but the first thing I'm going to show you here is the redundancy of it. If I make an object box here, it's a control in, and I'm going to put 10 because I already know that 10 is that knob, right? So I can connect that to the MIDI to CV, connect that to that input. Now it'll do the same thing that automatic assignment did. So there's our pitch, come up. So again, it does that same converting MIDI to into a message that can go out as analog control voltage. Now why I made a separate, and this is a really basic object, you open it up, that's all it's doing. It's just converting MIDI into this 4095 scale right there. What's useful for that is that if you've got your own projects, or you like working in PD, you can make your own sequencers, you can make your own algorithmic music in here that then will play your synth, play your analog gear. So that's what that's useful for, is not even just bringing MIDI in from outside, but creating MIDI in PD that can then play your analog gear. Oh, one other thing with this CV assign, I was showing it with pitch. Well, let me go back on over here, and I'm going to plug the envelope back in here, turn up my volume a little bit, and I'm going to assign it to a key on the keyboard. So like there. So now it's just working as a gate. When I press a key down, it opens the gate. When I release, it closes the gate, and the envelope filter just does that. The envelope generator is just doing its thing. So, and any other key won't do that. It has to be the one that I assigned it to. So you can, any of these objects, you can go here. I'm doing Command D right there, and you can duplicate them, and you can make as many of those as you want. I can even feed that into the same thing right here, assign that to the D right next to it now. So hitting those two, it does that, or you can have it go to another output altogether and trigger something else to happen. So you can have a manual gate that way. Next, we're going to take a look at the sequencer right up here. So this is a 16-step sequencer. I'm going to take the pitch out, CV out on this, connect that to the first one because that's what we've been using for pitch this throughout all this, and then gate going here. So that's going to come out and control our envelope to there. So now if I start going out of edit mode, turn this on, see how it's just ticking away on 1 right there. That's because I've got 1 and 1 set as my low and my high. Now if I turn it on here, now we hear that 1 pitch being played over and over again, right? This is our note length. So that makes it longer and shorter. Note length is tied to the BPM, so it's a ratio. If you go up straight up and down, that means halfway into the length of that pulse, it's going to cut off the gate there. If you go all the way to the end, it's going to cut off just right at the end, right before the next one starts. And that's why you start hearing a little bit of clicking when you have it up there. Now you get more staccato as you go shorter, like that. Okay, 1 shot, that means you hit this once and then it stops after that. Let's go back over here. Here's our turning it back on. If I want to have this say, let's do C to G, like that, I'm going to enable that pitch and then have this go to 2. Now it's going to go there. Go on up to A on that, make this go to 3. So you can pull notes in and out of it. Turn this on too, take that to 4. Make them longer, shorter. 1 shot's on right now, that means I can hit that. Then it'll stop at the end of it. So if you wanted it just to be able to run through the sequence once and then have it stop, you can do that. Here's our BPM. Let me change the note length a little there. There we go. So that takes us through using the sequencer. Like, as you can see, that's a 16-step sequencer right there. And it covers a wide range all the way from C0 to E4. Of course, these letter names, the pitch names, are only accurate as they relate to the intonation of the oscillator, right? So like there we go, that went through, and we can see that that's sitting on C right there, right? Now if I move this up a little bit, there we go. Now C becomes B. So if I was to play this, so that's sitting there on B right now because that's what I tuned the oscillator to. So just know that these letter names are not absolute. They relate to how you tuned your oscillator to begin with. Let's look at the link function now. If you've ever used Ableton Live, you likely know what link is. Ableton Link allows Live and other programs and software applications that are link enabled to communicate with each other as far as what the click is. So if you're going to be playing music with other people, this is a great way to sync things up. So I'm going to take that right here, stick it up there, up above it, and once you connect this to there, it overrides all of this except for the note length. Note length stays there, but this low to high, the BPM, even the 1 shot is all overridden by link. Now our tempo is up here instead of down there now. So it's going to go up and back down. Instead of low and high, it has a meter and a subdivision. So if I change that to 3, and then 4, like that. Now where this comes in really handy, like I said, is that this allows it to sync up with any other computers that are using computers, phones, tablets that have link-enabled applications running on them, and you can sync up with them. So I'm going to go out of full screen here for a minute, and we can look over here at live and see how now link shows one link right there. And in PD, we've got our one link right there. If I undo this right there, then you see 0, that one goes away. So however many people are on your network running link, they'll all show up there. And if I move this tempo, that changes the tempo in live right here. See how they're both at 210. If I move it here, look at live, and it follows it up. So connects the two together like that. I've also just recently added in a gate function to this as well. So if you don't want to, if you're not using the sequencer, but you just want to have this controlling, say, your envelope generator, then I can take this out like that. Now this is completely out of the system. Feed that gate down into here instead of up here. And now as it ticks away, I'm going to adjust the width. There we go. So now this becomes our note length. I don't know why I've got different names on them right now. I'll probably adjust that before you get to this. But that's the length of the note. Like that. If I turn off link, it continues running because it's a metronome in itself. But if I disconnect that, then that'll stop that from going. The next thing we're going to take a look at here is the LFO. So LFO, this, just like a hardware one, this is our low frequency oscillator. We can take that out. Let's do some frequency modulation. So I'm going to feed that into our frequency again right here, and there we go. And in fact, I'm going to feed that into here, not into the actual pitch. So now we've got that going. And if I turn this on, sine wave, give it a frequency, bring up the amplitude. Now you see the wave going there. You can see the tuner freaking out over there. I can pull this up. There's our frequency being modulated by the LFO here. More amplitude, wider, back down again. You can change the frequency of it. You can have a sawtooth wave, triangle wave, pulse wave. It's not going to sound like much at first, but then here's your pulse width for it. There. One thing you can do with the LFO is you can actually take the output right here and have that go into BPM right here, this right outlet, and you can have your LFO frequency controlling your BPM in your sequencer. So that can be something kind of useful with it as well. That way you're, say if I take this out, feed that into there. So I'm going to have this go into my VCA, and that way each pitch is going as it plays. This turns into our gate now for it. Let's see. Now I don't have pitches coming out. Let's do that. Now notice one thing about this is you do get some of that crackling on it. And that's anytime you have a continuous, like a sweeped voltage controlling analog volume, you do get a little bit of that. You hear it when it's a sine wave, but if I patch this over to say like to using a brighter waveform here, then you don't hear it as much in there. Especially something like if we go to that, then it's a much more usable volume control when you've got these brighter, harsher tones. Okay, a good next step now is to take a look at the envelope generator here. So as I've got the sequencer running right there, it's taking us through a sequence of 4 right there. If I take this gate out, feed that into the gate input right here, take that out through there, and now I'm going to connect, instead of going to the envelope generator there, I'm going to go straight into the quad VCA, into that. And so now this is our envelope generator. Let me bring up the volume a little bit, and you can see the envelope right there. I'm going to give the decay a little bit more time, give it some sustain. There we go. It's quick enough that it's not enough time for it to completely release. So let me make the release a little shorter, make the decay shorter, bring the tempo down. Both the LFO and the envelope generator, this is sending a lot of streaming data out of it and through the module. Also, your computer's having to process it pretty quickly, and so you're not going to have like 8 LFOs running on this. You can have a few of them on there, but depending on your computer's processor, depending on what it can handle, that's going to limit how many LFOs you can have running at one time. Sequencer, great. That's not as much data streaming out of it all at once. So that'll be really helpful. Any gating, that kind of stuff, that's the keyboard. You can have a bunch of those all running through it. I hope you enjoyed that introduction to the CV8. Please feel free to put any questions that you have below in the comments, and I'll respond to them. Enjoy your patching. Hope you enjoyed this, and look forward to hearing back from all of you as you start using the CV8 module.